Right, so Nikon Z9 is an amazing camera when it comes to wildlife or sports photography, but is it a really good option for high-end commercial work? And according to me, I think that the best way to review or test any gear is to actually use it for commercial work when you are under pressure and you want your gear not just to perform but to excel, to solve problems without creating any hiccups or hassles. And of course, when it comes to Z9, I can go on the long list of features, but in this video, I wanted to focus on the top 5 features because of which I am using the Z9 for my commercial work, and especially when I compare this to my previous body, which is the Nikon D850, which has now become my secondary body, right? So the very first feature is, of course, the Z9 can shoot both photos and videos, and the quality is really amazing. Like when it comes to photos, you can shoot 45 megapixel stills, and for videos, it can go all the way up to 8K, which I think is a bit of an overkill as of now. But the feature that I really enjoy for video is its 4K 120 frames per second, right? Because I can shoot these really beautiful slow motion product videos in 4K, right? And the other benefit, especially when you are using continuous lights, is that you can switch from photos to videos, and if you keep the settings pretty much same, you can get the exact same colors between photos and videos. And that is really crucial for me because these days the kind of briefs that we are getting, uh, almost every brief has both photos and videos. And usually what we are doing is we are trying to maximize the time slot that we have for these shoots. So let's say if we have a set ready for a photo shoot, a still shoot, we would want to create, or the client would rather want to create some videos in the same set as well. All right. And just as an example, this is one of the recent shoots that I did. So you can see the photo and the video, both were created using the Z9. Right, so the next feature is focus stacking while the camera is tethered. Now, earlier I was using this macro rail to do focus stacking where I would manually rotate the rail photo by photo for every shot, right? And with this built-in feature of focus stacking, now I can have my camera tethered to Capture One. And as I'm doing this focus stacking, every single shot is getting transferred on Capture One, which was not the case when I was using the Nikon D850, right? So in D850, it would still shoot the entire stack in camera, but the photos were not transferred to Capture One. They were stored on the memory card, right? So in this camera, I can see it on a big screen and make sure everything is going well. And later on, once I have the stack, I can use softwares like Photoshop or Helicon Focus to combine these photos together to get everything in tack sharp focus, right? So just to show you an application of this, let's have a look at this shot. Okay, so keep this aside. All right, so if we look here, so this was one shoot where for every single photo, I use focus stacking, okay? Because if you look at the shot, everything right from the refraction on the very front edge up till the cap of the product, everything is in tack sharp focus. And whenever you need to create results like these, focus stacking is the best option. And you can do this with the inbuilt option in Z9, right? So really, really helpful for commercial shoots. Right, so the next feature is high-speed photography, and by high-speed photography, what I mean is when I'm freezing liquids, splashes, waves, and things like that. And so prior to using the Z9, I was freezing liquids using high-frequency flashes, okay? But these days, I am more inclined towards using continuous lights on my shoots because I want to create both photos and videos in the same set. And especially when the lights have gotten so much better, with the current LED lights, the CRIs are so good, these are color accurate, and these are powerful lights. So given that, when I'm using the Z9, where the shutter speed can go up to 1 by 32,000th of a second, I can easily freeze high action shots using continuous lights, okay? And for that, I don't even have to push the Z9 to its limits. When I'm using shutter speeds in the range of 1 by 10,000th of a second to 1 by 13,000th of a second, I'm able to get good results, right? And just to give you an example, so I recently did a shoot where the first couple of days we created the key visuals, and the last 2 days we had kept for creating bulk content, where the goal was to create good enough photos without focusing too much on the details, right? And for situations like these, I use the Z9 along with continuous lights for freezing actions. So we were creating shots of the product underwater with bubbles rising up. I was freezing the splashes and waves, and creating all sorts of photos and videos where we were shooting high-speed liquids. Okay, and we were pretty happy with the results that I got using the Z9 along with continuous lights. Okay, which is quite a new thing. All right. The next feature is, of course, high ISO. Now, again, if I go back to using Nikon D850 or all the previous cameras I've used, I've always kept the ISO to its base limit, right? Like on the D850, the base ISO was 64, so my camera would always stay there. I never wanted to push the ISO beyond the base ISO limit. But when using Z9, I'm not afraid to push the ISO to even 800 or 1000, or even beyond that. So till 1000, I'm very, very comfortable. And especially, when you're shooting at apertures like f8, f11 and beyond, and you don't have powerful enough lights on the sets, like let's say you are using LED lights with 60 watt power, okay, and your aperture is like f8, f11, you can push the ISO all the way up to 1000 and still get pretty good results straight out of the camera, okay, so that's pretty insane. The next feature that I really like about Z9 is high continuous shooting. And when it comes to this feature, this camera can do 20 frames per second full resolution raw photos, right? Which is absolutely incredible. And this is really helpful when you're shooting a sequence where you're trying to catch a particular action. Like again from the same shoot, what we did was we simply took multiple bursts. I think I had taken some 5 to 6 bursts, and within those bursts, we found that particular shape in every single burst. So every single time I was able to capture or freeze that moment. Okay, so this was really helpful. Now the next feature that I really like is that when I'm using the mirrorless camera or the Z9, I can have the live view on when the camera is still tethered to the monitor, which was not the case when I was using the D850. Because when you're using a DSLR, the moment you connect your camera to the computer for tethering, you won't be able to switch on the live view. And when I'm using the Z9, because the live view is on, I can take the HDMI out and have the live view on a separate monitor. Like I use this monitor to get my live view during the shoot, and at the same time I'm getting the tethered setup on this monitor, right? So doing this, it's really convenient for me, especially when I'm working alone. I can simply go to the set and change my lights while looking into the live view monitor and precisely have my lights adjusted, for the desired result. And imagine if you don't have this setup and you're working with an assistant, you will usually, tell the assistant to move the light up a bit, move it to the right, slightly to the left side, slightly this and that, and then you'll take a shot and look at the result, and then again you do the changes, and then again take a shot, look at the result. So you are actually wasting a lot of time. But with this setup, I'm able to do all of that simply by looking at the live view on a separate monitor, which is big enough for me to exactly see what's happening there. And also because I'm using continuous lights, so the view that I get on the live view is pretty much the exact same photo that I'm going to get in the final result. Okay, right, so these are pretty much the top 5 reasons why I really love using the Z9 for commercial work. And if you guys have any questions or any ideas on using the Z9 or the newer mirrorless cameras, do let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.